2023. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, Sue, roll call. Here.
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 Here. Here.
Here. Here.
Present.
And Colin's not here. And David is not here. So since David's not here, I will appoint Tom as a voting member tonight. Okay, public comment. There's no public. The meeting minutes, I think we're going to hold off till next month, Sue. Is that right? Yep. No worries. Okay, financial summary. So for the general fund, we've started a new fiscal year. I guess back on July 1st, but we don't have any updated expenditures so far. So our new budget, which is higher than last year, total budget from the general fund is $4,520. And we haven't shown any expenditures yet this fiscal year. Any questions on that general fund? We'll talk about in a second, we have to put in a request for our next budget for next fiscal year, July 1st. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay, the conservation fund. The conservation fund balance is $133,568.66. And the Richard Shanda fund is $4,621.11.
Did the supplies come out of that already?
Which, sorry, say that again?
Did the supplies?
Yes, they came out of it because it used to be like 4,007 something, right? So,
Okay.
yep. And we'll talk about some expenditures just to kind of wrap up some things down under our stewardship.
I'm going to ask him to be quieter.
We'll hold off on that. Thanks, Chris. Any questions on that? I'll come back to that in a second later on when we talk about the wrapping up some stuff. Okay, the proposed general fund budget for FY25 for our general fund. So I put it in a packet. I don't know if you have it with you, but in FY23 we got $4,185, and then FY24, which is the one we're currently in, we have $4,520, which we just mentioned. I talked to Bart about the request for FY25, and as if you remember, if you look at the line items, there's 5 line items, and we talked about hiring CELT to do some additional easement monitoring, and so we wanted to beef up that line item. So I put $1,000 for contracted services for FY25. And the dues and subscriptions, the NHACC dues is $500, so we put it at that. We've been trying to get those up there the past year or so, but hopefully we can get it in this budget. General supplies would stay at $200, and part-time salaries would be a little less than this year at $3,300 because we didn't expend nearly that much. I think that's still probably sufficient for a total of $5,000. So that's $480 more than this fiscal year. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. If you think that's appropriate.
Is there any chance there might be more than just the CELT contract? Because I believe that's 1,000 max, isn't it?
Yeah, typically, it's my understanding the way the Commission has talked about this in the past is that the contracted services here are mostly for conservation easement monitoring, because those are town-held, interests in land, and so that really should come out of the general fund.
Okay.
And then, just because it's a smaller pot of money, we do have the conservation fund, which is a pretty, obviously a significant amount of money that goes toward contracts for fee-owned lands. It's kind of how I think it's been sort of separated. Otherwise, we'd have to ask for a lot of money in contracted services, and I don't think.
You mean like contracted with like someone doing tree work or something like that?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I mean, I think if over time, if we expend more of the conservation fund on land projects, and in 5 years there's not much money in there, I think we have to start going to the general fund because it's the responsibility of the town to steward those lands.
Okay.
But right now there have been funds in the conservation fund, and we've gone for grants to help fund those. But it's a a very good point.
I could see definitely making the argument if we collected less money and change of use, land use change
Yeah.
tax than we expended during,
Yeah.
say, 2023, then it would make sense to ask
Yeah.
for additional funding. But I don't know those numbers.
Yeah, no, we've been pretty, I mean, I think our budgets have been pretty good in terms of the two funds, the three funds that we have. One of the issues for FY '24 is that, contracted services is only $400, and the due subscriptions is only $450. So we will deficit spend in those line items if we, and my understanding is that that's okay, apparently, as long as you don't expend your overall general fund budget, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
So if you, think this is okay, maybe a motion or, sort of discussion on whether we should submit this to, it would go to Steve Fournier and Bart McDonough, and Bart reviews it as because we're under the sort of under the planning department, or he's the one that puts it forward, and then Steve reviews it, and then it goes to the town council, or the budget committee, and then the town council.
I move to submit fiscal year 2025 as is.
Okay, do you have a second?
I'll second it. Oh, go Sam.
Sam, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That was everybody, Dane? Great. Thank you for that. I will send that on to those two. All right, committee reports. Town council, Brian.
Let's see, the sewer main break in the river has been fixed. And we are currently looking for a more permanent response to it, but this should hold for a couple of years. Whereas we're still working on, getting easements because we're trying to build a new set around it, on the area. Let's see, we nominated Josh Scoville and Jamie Naver to the Arts and Tourism Commission. And we transferred $50K from the fire cap reserve that the budget committee had added on the prior year to the merit pool for pool. The police chief, the fire chief was okay with this. That money had been contacted on at the very end, so it wasn't really specified for anything. So this will help us, give money to the people who work in town and hopefully keep them here. So the budget committee allocated it from the fire capital reserve fund. Town asked for X amount on there. The budget committee said, actually, you need an extra 50, put it on. Fire chief says it's not, doesn't need it for that purpose. So I believe that was it. It was kind of a light meeting. So.
Great, any questions for Brian?
Thank you.
Planning board, Jeff?
One item that came up that I thought would be of interest is Lindsay Butler and Bart presented changes to our Chapter 32 zoning ordinance to include some requirements to do with MS4 permitting. You probably know more about Sam than I do. But so basically, it gives the intent. I'll give you a brief overview because I'm not super familiar with it. The intent is to give the code enforcement officer the ability to enforce regulations around illicit connections and dumping into the town drainage system. So if somebody sees someone, say, dumping oil into a catch basin, it can be reported, the code enforcement can look into it. Or, apparently there's a lot of things that are considered part of the town drainage system, like roadside ditches and whatnot. So tons of fertilizer, washing car soap down in there and whatnot. So that's current. So what they did is they they presented it to us, and we could continue to look at this, or we could move it on to the town council and suggest that the town council take this up and work through it, because they'll have to in the end anyway. So that's what the board moved to do, to not investigate anymore on our end. It was moved on to the town council. So further discussions will be held there. So I suggest perhaps it's in our packet, which I believe you can find online, to read through the changes to section 30, or chapter 32, which I have them here, if anybody's interested in seeing.
Is it very long? Is it?
It's not, it's too long to read
Yeah.
into the record, but it's, or I can enter it into the record for the Conservation Commission.
So the, this changes has what Bart and Lindsay are recommending?
Yes, it's not the final draft, obviously,
Right.
because it hasn't been to town council yet, and they can change it if they so desire. That's,
Maybe I can get Bart to send it out to the commission.
it is, yeah, it's in the packet for the meeting that we just had
Okay.
on, August 8th.
Yeah,
I
but-
can, so I could circulate it too.
Yeah, if you wanna send
if
it to the
prefer.
commission, I think that would be helpful for people to at least just have it, and then if they wanna, if anybody wants to read it, you have it right there. Cause
Yeah.
it does relate to, what we do.
Yeah, that's the goal, is, I mean, it's required that the town adopt a rule in some way to give some enforcement.
Mhm.
And this is the route they chose, was through zoning. So it's interesting to, they added definitions and whatnot, as to
Mhm.
what's covered.
Seems good, seems like a good idea.
The discussion was really interesting about, if you see it, report it, because there's no other way to really,
Yeah.
monitor anything. And in particular, Lindsay was talking about a case in Durham where a woman walked her dog, but poop went to the
Catch basin.
catch basin and threw it in every day.
Oh my, nice.
And,
Oh.
every day, both times, or almost every time she walked the dog, so. You see it,
Right.
report it.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. And there is no clear path to enforcement in our town code
Mhm.
at all. So
Mhm.
this provides a clear path
Okay,
to
great.
enforcement. Cool.
Yeah, if you could send that around to everybody, no, you know, when you get time.
Yeah. The only other thing that I did is Dale Pike came to our meeting to the Conservation Commission
Mhm.
meeting last month and expressed concerns. So I did bring that up, his concerns up to the planning board about posting notice. And the planning board and town council rep felt that it's more of a state DES.
This is
thing.
the waterfront signage.
Yeah, waterfront
Yeah.
signage due to contamination being present prior to the sewer breakage anyway. And the consensus of some of the members of the board were clearly that the thought that that was in the purview of DES, because they're in charge of that water quality more so than the town.
So we did follow up with a letter to Steve and Sean expressing, because we discussed it at our last meeting, and what I said in the letter was, because we had said, should give us guidance, should we, you know, Shanna Park is under our
Right.
stewardship, should we put up some other signage? And it was more about not feeding the ducks, because people are still feeding ducks.
Yeah.
And it was more about, your kids really shouldn't swim in Moonlight Brook because it's dangerous. There's rocks and it's slippery and it's not a swimming place. It wasn't really about the sewage issue. But I haven't heard anything back from that, so maybe we'll wait to hear if they have some more guidance. But I'm not sure I completely agree it's just a DES issue, but that's a difference of
Yeah,
opinion.
I didn't fully agree either, but the board didn't want to move forward with
Yeah.
any action on it. Yeah, I mean, if it's there and you know it, it was mostly based on not the current break, but if we knew that it's been, even if it's slightly contaminated, because I believe it's not way over the threshold normally, like the contamination coming out of Moonlight Brook, like it jumped higher when the sewer leaked.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like on the threshold of whether or not it's safe. But anyway.
Any other-
Is the town newsletter that gets sent out, has that said anything about the break being fixed, or will it?
I am not sure. caught up with it.
It goes out tomorrow, so,
That'd be something, I mean,
yeah,
everybody was told when it was broken. I
Right.
just hope they're all told.
yeah.
I can't imagine they would not.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
well,
we have
that's great,
photos and
it's, cause
updates,
it's
right?
great news.
Sometimes we do get separate emails about issues like that, and that might be a good one to, for Steve to send something out. If you wanna pass that on, perhaps, to him. All right, anything else from planning board? I know there's been the issue, it's not really, I don't think there's any wetlands related issues with it, is the proposed development on on 152? corner
That
of
was
Brent Road?
continued to next month.
Okay.
I know there was a site walk,
But there's no wetlands issue, so that's why it hasn't
Oh,
come to us, right?
sorry,
It's just-
yeah, there were not, I recused myself from the discussion, we
Mhm.
surveyed the
Yeah.
property,
Yeah.
so I can't get into specifics on the project, but there were no, wetland impacts in the last proposed version that we saw.
It looks like the only thing that was in the newsletter last Friday was the general, water quality press release from the DES.
Mhm, right. Okay. All right, thank you, Jeff. Riverfront Advisory Committee, Shanda Park.
Not much to report, as we've still been taking a little summer hiatus, so our next meeting isn't until August 21st. So I'll have something to say come next meeting, but we have not met since mid-June. I'm writing myself a little bit of a note here just to check in on the water quality sampling that Dr. Jones and UNH
yeah.
is doing,
That'd be great.
as we've been having this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll provide an update on that if I get one. And that's it, unless we want to plug what you had emailed around for
Yeah, so,
Wednesday.
Yeah, so actually a couple things. One is, I think I sent you the announcement of the oyster cages are in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go down to Shanna Park, you walk across Moonlight Brook on the bridge and you go walk down to the dock. There's granite abutments on either side, and it's on the left side. There's 4 cages in there. And Kim put them in a couple weeks ago, and we're gonna have a workshop next Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. So I think Bart will be there, I'm planning to be there, if anybody else from the commission would like to be there, and then people can sign up, the public can sign up on Nature Groupie. There'll be a e-news, in the e-news tomorrow, how you sign up. So Kim will be there, and we'll talk about oysters, and the cool thing about this is anybody, anytime can go down there and pull up one of the cages, and you can look and see if the oysters are growing, and then you use a QR code and can report that. But she'll talk about that at the workshop. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a really interactive project.
When, that's Thursday? next week?
Wednesday, August 16th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Shanda Park. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then just in the mail today, I picked up, Gary Collins has submitted his annual request for putting the weir on Shanda Park from October 2023 to June 2024, which is his usual application. So if you're not familiar with it, the weir that's out in the water, he brings it actually right between the dock where the oysters are. There's that low area, and then the other part of the park. He brings it up there for the winter. So I guess I'd like to have a motion, or we can discuss it, or have a motion to approve that application.
I move to approve.
Okay, whatever I just said.
I would second the application
All right.
for the weir
Any
to be
further
stored.
discussion?
Yeah, I think the only comment that I would make on that is eventually, if work is ever done at Shanda Park, that location in which it comes out has been one of the prime areas that we've looked
Right.
at for living shoreline and for general park improvement. So nothing's obviously going to happen within the next year, so no
Right.
problem with that. But eventually, I think that's a decision this commission will have to make
Mhm,
about
I agree.
what to do with it, or is just there another exit point that can be taken?
Mhm.
Whether that's, floated down to the Fish and Game one out behind Young Lane and the DPW,
Mhm.
or the boat launch or whatever it may be. But
Right, yep.
I'll get off the stump speech.
Yeah,
Because
no.
nothing's happening within the next year.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Is it open, the nets are open this year, cause there's no.
Yeah, it's, I think they're always
no
open.
what?
Yeah, the seasons are closed. Okay.
Voting?
Pardon?
We vote.
Do we vote? Yes, let's have a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Thank you for reminding me of that. Sometimes it's easy to forget. Other committees, energy and environment?
We have also been taking kind of a summer break. Our next one is August 30th. There is still stuff happening though, because it is getting moved along. So the last email we got from Joe was the Public Utilities Commission did approve our Newmarket electric aggregation plan. So that would be explaining kind of where we think Newmarket should be getting their power from, hydro, solar, that sort of thing, and what we think, what we recommend. So that's been approved by the Public Utilities Commission. Next, it'll be moving on to the town council and the town manager. So the town manager makes a recommendation with the help of a lawyer. They have all the policy documents from CPC New Hampshire to go through, and our cost sharing agreement. And then there'll be votes to approve or deny. And I think we are hoping still to be in the spring 2024 wave of joining CPC New Hampshire. So there are good stats. More people are opting in from towns who have taken on CPC. More people are opting in than are opting out. And some, I think 10% are actually opting up to take more renewable energy in their plans as well. So those are slowly trickling in. Things are, slowly chugging along on with the energy and environment committee. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Julie? Thank you. Any other committee reports? I just have one. The Lamp River Advisory Committee, Suzanne sent, and I think I have in your packet, they are, LRAC and Lamp River Watershed Association is thinking about, I think, restarting a river watch program to identify potential issues such as erosion, invasive plants, discharges that we were talking about earlier. And they want to focus on actionable items. So they this is just an example of some organization's stream survey. And they want to know if there's anything we think would be useful to record on such a survey. I'm not entirely clear if they're talking about landowners would fill this out or people would walk up and down the stream. I'm not quite sure how that would work.
Yeah, that was my question.
So I didn't really have any feedback at this point, but one thing we could do is either have Suzanne come in or Patrick, who is our representative on LRAC, if you think we're interested and want more information. I think they were just looking for feedback on the idea.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. At least hearing the things.
Yeah, so maybe I'll talk to Patrick or Suzanne.
I would ask Patrick, because he's our rep
right?
to it, yeah.
Should I maybe get Patrick in and see if he can't give us
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it, but like, what's the intent? Is it to comment on like a specific portion of a stream, or like to try to engage somebody to look at the whole thing?
Yeah, there was some context missing.
Yeah, they didn't have provide a lot. I think they're just starting it.
Some pretty complicated questions on there.
Very
Yes.
kind. This
Yeah,
is,
that's what I
The
thought.
stream volume,
And, yeah,
water volume, and
yeah, and
it could be.
I mean,
For
you
an
can't go
initial
on-
survey to get
Subjective
interest, I
answers.
didn't think it
people
was
out in the middle of the
appropriate.
stream.
yeah, if you want, is the goal to
Get
get
their
people
depth.
interested in the river, or is it to
Very
really
deep.
find a problem? And you can't walk on somebody else's property, so I don't know. Anyway, we need more information. We will ask
It's only
Patrick.
filled out to that
come.
question. Somebody pulled it up.
Stream discharges.
People are gonna want to get out in this.
Yeah, I suspect this is not what they're going to use. I'm not sure why they went with this one, but I think this was just an example.
Yeah.
It does specifically say they want this to be actionable items, which is actionable by who, I'm not really sure.
Well, back in the day, they had water, they called them water keepers or
Yeah.
something like that. They had a nice name to it. So I think they're looking,
They're
for years,
restarting.
they've been looking to revitalize, having people
Mhm.
volunteer to take on their own time to get some kind of expertise as a volunteer to do some of this.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah,
we'll
it
get-
seems like a really good idea. It would be nice to, get Patrick's input.
Yeah, see what they're thinking. Okay, we'll do that, see if he can come next time.
You have to have an app on your phone to tell the longitude and latitude of where you're currently located.
You just ballpark it.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the
Near
questions,
the
right?
slimy rock.
If you have an iPhone, the Compass app actually has
Yeah.
something.
It does it,
So
right.
obviously not survey grade, but
Yeah.
like close enough.
Pretty close. You can Google Earth is pretty close too. You can tap it.
Yeah, this is a pretty sophisticated, survey, so that's probably not gonna be it, so. All right. All right, on to initiative, any other committees? Anybody else wanna report on anything? Did you wanna talk about the photo thing here, NHACC?
I didn't know if it was a new business or what, but
I
I
could
did
put it
want
in.
to have, or encourage people, these us, I was gonna say, these us'ns, to consider entering photos into the NHACC photo contest. And I also hoping anybody watching this or coming across this information in the newsletter will also consider entering. It's a one-time $10 fee, no matter how many photos you're entering, with the theme being water, wetlands, and wildlife. And I think it sounds really exciting. The categories are ages 12 and under, teens are 13 to 18, and adults 19 plus, with cash and prizes. So there's a $250 big prize if that's a motivation for people to enter. But I think it's also a way that we can show interest and support for things that NHACC do and kind of connect us all together. They also had the idea of the town with the most entries will get a free ticket for the fall conference, statewide conference. But I would say that the most important thing I would love people to do is just get out with your cameras. We've had some really nice luck, pre-COVID, whenever we did photos before. So I think we could subset this and maybe run again some photos of people entering and get them back up in the town hall or the library or other places in town, like we've kind of talked about before, how to get photos out. If you got photos out, you got people out. And if you had the photographer out, you could probably have somebody else interested in what they saw in some of these photos. So keep that in mind. The deadline, or the deadline is September 8th to enter your photos, and they just should have been taken this year, although there won't be a way that they can tell they were taken this year, but the honor system would have it be they should be this year.
All the details are posted on Facebook.
So do consider it, us.
Yeah, great. All right, any other initiatives or not, any committees, reports? All right, initiatives, pathways for people in nature. I talked to Bart and Tom a little bit about this. So again, summer we're a little bit on hiatus of things, but what Bart suggested is, he's in the midst of the whole master planning process, probably for the next year, right, into 2024. And we have some draft maps from the coastal plan from Pete that show the conserved lands and the priority areas from that project. But we still need to collect some data, like trails data. We don't have all the trails data in there, and the trails by use. So what I thought is we should do that this fall, is go out and collect some of that trails data. We might want to, we have all the Falls Brook properties that we really need to check out, because that was one of the pathways that we were looking at for trails. So we need to gather some information this fall. And then, Colin, who couldn't be here tonight, is still working on the stream crossing connectivity, so that's another piece of it. So I think we're kind of in this planning, gathering data part of it, and probably it's going to be till into 2024, into 25 when the master plan is done, so that if we do want to go for grants or if there's landowners interested, we have this underpinning of information and data. So.
And I reached out to Lori, but I have not made contact yet, asking her about the updating the priorities for the Great Bay.
Right, so Lori Summer is who the Southeast Land Trust hired as part of the new coastal Great Bay Resource Protection Partnership land protection person. So she's working in the whole for the Great Bay watershed, but there are some priorities in Newmarket, so she would be working on those, and those are mostly probably like Salt Marsh, right on Great Bay. But it's nice to have that, so we're following up with her on what she's working on.
Yeah, she'll get back. I'm not
Yeah.
really sure what her hours are.
Yeah,
I don't believe she's full-time, but
Yeah,
she may be.
I'm not totally sure either. So pardon? Yeah, we could ever come sometime. Yeah, maybe in October. We got Patrick.
Yeah, that would be a great idea.
Yeah, good idea. You wanna actually, Tom, check with her if you get a hold of her and see if she wants to
Yeah.
come in October?
I will.
All right, so again, Golan isn't here, so no update on the stream crossings. Pollinator Pathways?
I am going to be emailing the, group of folks, connected to the school system, tomorrow in regards to putting together a team of hopefully kids, to get things going with, the pollinator seeds that we received from Pollinator Pathways. So we talked about having a couple of locations at each of the schools, and we'd like to get those going. So that's where we are with that.
Any questions for Melissa on that? It's a good year, it was wet, plenty of water to
Yeah.
start plants, but.
Elena, is an initiative, could we talk quickly about or remind people about the date, although it's a beautiful summer night, but can we talk about the date for the night sky event in the winter?
Sure.
And then update a little bit about the high school, astrology class, high school maybe being a site for a presentation before we hit the fields.
Sure, so as part of the sort of events for our Conservation Commission meetings, we've been trying to get the New Hampshire Astronomical Society, they do the night sky watch programs. Maybe you've done one, did you do one with them before? Do you remember? I don't think we have. Anyway, so we finally lined them up for Monday night, January 8th. Start around 7 p.m. and we're going to co-host it with the Nature Conservancy at their office because they have that great office that's really
Nice.
dark over
Mhm.
there, and they have a deck out there, so we'll work on partnering with them, and we'll have some sort of sign up, probably through Nature Groupie. But Chris suggested, is there a way for us to do some sort of indoor program? I mean, we could even do it that month. Our commission meeting is that Thursday, or are you thinking that evening before going out?
I
Or in
hadn't
the
thought
school.
that far into it, just knowing the high school has an astronomy class, not a club, but a class. It really seemed like a nice chance for us to network with the school district a little bit and give some real world experience to the students in that class. And maybe along the way, the astronomy people get volunteers to help them. Maybe we get volunteers interested to help us, but I think outreach to high school kids is essential these days. And it would sure be easy, I mean.
Are you offering to do that?
Well, since I already blabbered with Todd in the parking lot walking in here with Superintendent Allen, I'm happy to
Yeah.
see who is the contact for that
Yeah.
class and how could that look or feel. It could be as simple as we encourage them to come as a pod over that night. Maybe they can come earlier and have a chance to have what, for the lack of a better word, a meet and greet with the experts there with the equipment or whatnot. So I'd call it prenatal right now, but I think knowing the date and the Nature Conservancy and the high school, I think it's something really,
Yeah.
really neat to put together or pull together with.
Maybe the library would do a week, astronomy week or something. with the library.
Astronomy, yeah, put some books on an end cap that have to do with night sky. It also, I think, tags in nicely with some things that we've talked about in the past and have had smatterings of in the newsletter about January is early, but not too early for people to start thinking about the importance of nighttime sky and dimming lights and not having any unnecessary lights on when it comes time for March and bird migration and insects' life cycles and whatnot. So I think we could do some nice PR and some nice educational things.
Is the date dictated by an event?
By
Like,
a
is that
not,
by a planetary event?
by a not a full moon, for instance.
Yeah, that's kind of,
Um,
it's the winter time, not a full moon, the dates they have available, the dates we have
Okay.
available.
So it wasn't like
Yeah.
Saturn and Venus or
No.
anything?
Like when
You
the
like-
moon aligns with Mars and peace will
Yeah.
guide the planets and love will steer the stars. Yeah.
And Jupiter aligns with Mars.
Yeah, that's what it
Aligns
was.
with Mars.
This is the dawning of the conservation. Yeah, all right, moving right along.
Yeah, all right, that's good. Anyway, January 8th, we're gonna have astronomy night, yep.
And tonight, if it was clear, it would be a
Tie-dye shirt
wonderful
and
meteor showers, but it's not looking so good tonight.
Yeah.
But the next couple of nights, get out and see the Perseid meteor showers.
Good, put that in there.
I'm sorry, I don't know a song about the Perseid meteor showers.
Are they
Alright.
providing telescopes or should we do that?
Oh, no, that's part of their thing,
Yeah, they
coming
bring
the
all the
8th.
scopes and everything, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. We tried to do it, well, tried to do it in Durham, but COVID came along, so it didn't work.
Yeah, we tried it, but then it was like we shouldn't put our eyes where
Yeah.
someone else's were, and oh my God.
Okay, moving along, conservation easement monitoring. So the CELT contract was sent to, we added those modifications that we discussed. I sent that to Debbie Gord at CELT, she was fine. It went to Steve Fournier for review, he okayed it, this week. And it's gonna go now back to CELT, the director's away, when he comes back, hopefully he'll print it, sign it, and it'll come back to Steve for signature. And that will, we'll get rid of the, release the existing recorded contract, and then we'll just have this annual contract, it's not recorded, so.
No.
And then,
That's
and then,
not-
yeah, I think, if they get that signed, then I think in September, we would approve up to $1,000 for CELT. And decide if we want them to do both Hilton and Nostrum. And then every year, at some point, they usually do their monitoring of these kinds of easements in November, December. So every year, we could do the contract with them June, July, or it could be in January, but it could be also in June, July. So that's good. I think that's a good step forward on that. And then at our September meeting, be thinking if you want to do the usual easement monitoring that you've done in the past, and we'll get the field folders out to you, and of course you can do them anytime this fall, but we'll review all the easements that we have to monitor in September, and people can pick those up. Okay, any questions on easement monitoring? All right, land stewardship. All right, Sliding Rock Conservation Recreation Area, we have the LRAC grant, and I picked up the signs today.
Oh,
Enforcement
nice.
sign.
Nice.
They look really nice. So those will hopefully go up in the next few days. And that wraps up that grant. So I think we've approved this before, but it might not hurt because we have 3 invoices to pay related to the kiosk panels. So one is for Kathy Arakelian for the actual graphic design of the panels for $877.50. She's awesome. She does really nice. They're very it's very colorful. Very hopefully people will go look at them. Which is the idea. I did hire Greg DeSantos again. Remember he did the work at Heron Point and did the trail map. So he did the trail map, which is a pretty simple map, but it looks nice. And that went on the Kathy incorporated that into the graphic design, so that was $455. And then Portsmouth sign, printing of the 2 signs, cost has gone up a bit on signs, but it was $1,050. So if we could, so we didn't do a couple things in the grant. We didn't do the fencing because we discussed it and people use that area and there might be some future erosion issues or something we want to do. So we thought putting the fencing up seemed a little bit too soon. That perhaps just what we've done so far is sufficient and maybe some additional signage. We also had $400 I think in there for a wetlands permit, which we didn't need. So we've gone over in terms of the cost for the interpretive panels, but because we had those extra items that we didn't use, we're actually under budget. And I don't think LRAC will be concerned that we went over on one item and under another. So the grant was for $6,325, and we spent $6,244.43. So that's pretty good. So I think it would be helpful just to document and approve those 3 invoices. Did I mention if you would be willing to do that?
I move that we approve those invoices.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Excuse me.
And then, yeah, so then that wraps up Sliding Rock, and I think maybe next year, if anybody's keen on it, there was some thought about whether the ramp and the beach and the erosion needs any additional work, but I think, maybe that will come up if LRAC comes up with a worksheet. Someone can go out there with a worksheet and assess it. But for now, I think we're pretty good at Sliding Rock. So that's good. Okay, so Piscassic River Loisel Conservation Area, as you recall, the sign went in, thanks to Melissa.
It looks nice.
Yeah, really visible. We had 2 payments to them, and we had for the overall, for creating the sign, printing the sign, and then the install. And when we did the approvals here, we had a couple nights where we approved the cost, and it turned out we're $150 short in what we approved. So just for the record keeping, if we could approve that $150, that covers the remaining part of that invoice that essentially was already paid because we went ahead and did the install. So if I could have a motion to
I move to approve the Piscassic River Loisel foliage invoice.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion?
You're welcome.
All in favor, say aye.
Sure.
Great. It just helps us to keep our finances in order. It's great. Great. And then Wigan Farm, now that Sliding Rock is done, I think we can move on to Wigan Farm. I'm still working on the kiosk and also just thinking about the design of the panels for that. So it'll probably be similar to the design. I think hiring Kathy again, probably hiring Greg to do a trail map so they all start to look similar. And my thought is that we put together that cost and submit to LRAC again, because even though Wigan Farm seems a little bit afar from LRAC, they actually paid for the original, helped pay for the original acquisition of Wigan Farm, and they might have even paid for the kiosk, I'm not sure. So it's within their service area, so I thought they might be willing to come back. And it always sounds like they have funds. So,
Cool.
so why not? So maybe I can get that to you in the September. Well, actually, if I can put that together before September, I'd like to submit it to them because they have a rolling application, and I don't know when they meet, and it'd be good to. I really want to get it installed before winter. So if we could get an approval from LRAC. So if you, even though I don't have a mount, would you be okay if I submitted an application to LRAC? Sure. I don't know if we need approval, just since we don't have any amount yet, but, okay.
And thinking ahead about Wigan Farm, if there's going to be the new kiosk and whatnot, I'm wondering if in the springtime we could see if Dr. Matt Tower could come back again and do a walk there. The one he did last year was successful. Remember, and there was a yellow rocket, or what was there?
Yellow rattle.
Yeah, yellow rattle, not rocket. Right. That was identified, and I know, I just felt like it was really successful, and I've had people since say, oh, are you going to do that again? We didn't know about it, whatever. So we could maybe have like essentially a ribbon cutting after the kiosk is there and have a walk by him. He needs to be booked pretty darn far in advance, but that could be something we could think about in the winter for spring maybe. And with birding really coming into it, I think it'd be nice if we helped tag along on that train and get people out and about on a property.
Sounds good.
Easy parking, people love that.
All right, any other land stewardship things people have heard about or seen? No trees down, thankfully. Good. Other updates. The only one I had was Boulder Drive Trail, which is something that Colin's working on, and he's not here, so I think he's still working on that idea.
I have an update.
Yes.
Lindsay White, I was supposed to reach out to
Oh,
her,
yeah.
but she reached out. She installed the turtle camera traps around town. She actually reached out to us on the 21st of July saying that she removed the traps because her field season was over, and she's got to go through all the data, all the photos, and see what she found or captured. So she said she'll definitely reach out when she's done and share her findings.
Yeah, great. How do you think it went? How was it this year? I know you had one bad experience. with
We
the
had that one
landings.
bad experience, and I had not seen another since.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there were additional that crossed the road there, or that was the only one. There were a number of smaller turtles, some turtles, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I know that I've personally seen a number of spotted turtles this year on the rail trail in various locations
Yeah, I've
in
seen-
Epping and in Newmarket, Newfields.
That's great to see. I've seen one. I saw one last week.
Yeah, there was one day when I was out running in a very heavy rainstorm, and there was actually turtles swimming on the rail trail.
Aw.
I passed a small snapping turtle. I like ran by. I was like, "Whoa!" It
Oh
was
my
like
gosh.
swimming, and there was like 3 inches of water on the
Oh,
trail
that's
itself.
cool.
And then like 100 feet up the trail, there was a spotted turtle right in the middle, swimming
Wow.
across the trail.
That's hilarious.
It
That's
was
awesome.
hilarious. I was like, "Wow, I've never
Wow.
seen swimming
The other
there."
thing that's been out, and I've seen it in past years, but have you seen the really big crayfish? They come out on the rail trail. Those
Well, they even
big,
made it
dark
as a
red
Manchester
crayfish.
Union
They're
leader.
actually
We
not
saw
native,
them
they're
on
not the
Ryland.
native, they're not the native ones, but they're pretty wild, because you go up to them and they go,
With the heavy rain, right?
yeah, they come out and it's
There
just like-
are there's like in our yard we've seen like 100 at least
Wow.
of these red.
Oh, they're dark
crayfish.
red, yeah, they're not the native ones. I think they
Yeah, I
got a
don't think so.
darker
They have really
band.
thin claws.
Hmm.
I didn't notice a dark band on them. I tried to find a picture of them online, and I couldn't find a picture that looked like the ones. I have pictures on my phone. If anybody knows, I can show you after the meeting.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
tell me
Let's see it.
which
Oh,
ones
I
they are.
see 'em.
Yeah, cool.
But there's like tons and tons and tons of them. Every time we get a heavy rain, the other day our yard was like, and they make these little mud. I don't-
The one species, he might have a native species, because there are native crayfish.
They make like these and underneath is some cedar trees in our front yard that we planted near the road, and they make like a little mud hut.
Hmm.
And they make those mud huts under them. They stand in them with their little claws.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I've been, you know, you see the little huts
Yeah.
in the woods.
Yeah, that must be
Yeah.
crayfish. Yeah, and then
Have to have a-
I don't know. I've never seen the abundance of crayfish. We also had a very large bear in our driveway the other day.
Oh my goodness.
Gosh.
It
Have a
walked
field
right
trip
between
here.
our house and our garage, which are only like 25 feet
That's
apart.
great.
Walked down the steps and down the driveway.
Nice.
Well, our dog was going absolutely crazy at like 5 in the morning. We're like, "What is going on?" And like, there's a bear like right outside the door. 5 feet away.
That's great.
Yeah, really very nice.
Yeah, it might be the lady slipper bear, because there's one at Lady Slipper. It's like right across the swamp from our house.
Well, that fits in the wildlife category of the NHACC photo contest.
I didn't get a picture of it.
Or
Oh,
they
you got the little red guys.
The
Yeah.
crayfish.
Oh yeah, the
The
crayfish. Yeah,
would be
but they're
a-
in a bucket. My wife picks them up and puts them in a
Oh.
bucket and moves them because our driveway will be full of them. Now that she knows, if they are the invasive kind, because we weren't sure.
Yeah, we'll have a look at your photo.
I'll aim for them.
Oh, well.
Put it in a bucket,
Dump it in
is
the
there still an
drain.
artistic
Maybe the-
element to a photo like
Dumping
that to
invasive
show?
species into
The
closed
bear
drain.
might eat the crayfish.
Yeah, that's right. And
Okay, anything else on our
Let's see if we know.
agenda? No? Let's have a motion to adjourn?
all right.
Second?
Okay.
All in favor?
All right.
Don't let Jeff out without sharing his
Yeah, you gotta
photo
share.
reel there.
Crayfish.